Joining us now to take on this topic, Democratic insider and strategist Alexis Wiley and Republican State Senator Jim Runestad. Good to see both of you. Thanks for joining us, and I want to get into this right now. Right now in Lansing, there is a bill that Republicans would like to see on the floor, but for some reason, it has not seen the light of day. This bill would essentially introduce the concept of banning sanctuary cities in Michigan. Jim, why is this necessary?
Well, you're seeing evidence of sanctuary cities going to hell all over the nation. All of these states like New York and Denver and Chicago have just been inundated with hundreds of thousands of people pouring into those communities because they are sanctuary cities. And now all of these mayors are just going out of their minds. We got to stop this. We've got to put these people somewhere else. Every one of the hotels is full. The airports are full. It's just incredible, this open border disaster that Biden has thrust on the United States of America, and it's coming here to Michigan. We had this big bus load of illegal aliens recently that were pulled over, and there's no details except the driver was here illegally with an illegal driver's license. So what's happening with many of the communities we have, Washtenaw, we have Kent County, Wayne County, and Kalamazoo, they're all counties that are sanctuary counties.
What are the problems that any of these areas are seeing that would be a huge red flag for you right now in terms of being a sanctuary city?
Well, right over in Kent County, we had a illegal alien who was booted out of the country, came back in and murdered this girl. The guy should never have been in, but he gets sanctuary in Kent County. It's one of the counties that we're talking about. So you have criminals that gravitate to those counties, those cities where they know that there will be no enforcement of the law.
But okay, so they get to evade the law is what you're saying, evade immigration consequences is what you're saying. But Alexis Wiley, you're saying we can't paint everybody with the same brush.
Absolutely. I mean, criminals come in all shapes, sizes, races, ethnicities, all of those things. To basically say that, you know, you're taking these cases and saying, well, that's indicative of all immigrants, I think is something that is a really dangerous othering of people that I think just takes us down roads that aren't the real things that I think Michiganders are worried about, right? We're thinking about our education. We're thinking about healthcare. We're thinking about jobs. We're not thinking about, do I live in a sanctuary city or not?
But Alexis, the border is one of the top issues. It's that and abortion right now that Americans who've been polled, even here in Michigan, say it's important to them. So perhaps it's not 100% accurate to say that that doesn't matter to them.
I think that what doesn't matter, in my opinion, right, I think that there are these issues that we elevate and just to, in my opinion, distract us from the real things that are mattering and that really are making an impact on our lives day to day. I do think the border is something that is a concern for all of us, right? We all want good immigration policy, but we don't want to say that all immigrants are criminals or, you know, really use these stereotypes to really demonize people who may just be here because they're looking for opportunity.
Senator, do you see how that could happen, the othering of people by saying that these people are coming in to do these bad things? Not all of them certainly are doing the same thing, right?
No, of course not. The idea that all immigrants are violating, nobody has a problem with legal immigration. In fact, I'm one of the strongest proponents of legal immigration. What we're talking about is people who have broken into this country illegally. And what we're seeing, you've probably been watching the news where the inflation rate just went up again. Now people can't afford gas, they can't afford groceries, but there's one product that has collapsed in the price. Biden has brought down enormously one product, and that's called fentanyl. The price of fentanyl, I was talking to a lot of the sheriffs over in the western part of the state, they said it has collapsed. It's cost 1/3 of what it used to cost just a couple of years ago. And all of the fentanyl labs that we had across the state of Michigan are all gone because it's so easy and cheap to buy it as it floods over the border. So yes, it's a real practical application of the disaster of the Biden administration.
So what's the bill that Republicans like yourself want to see introduced in the state Senate here in Michigan?
The bill says that all the communities have to enforce state and federal law. So the Democrats would say that it's federal law takes precedence over all immigration, except if we want to weaken the laws and not enforce them, then we have the states' rights in that case. Anything that strengthens the laws on illegal immigration, the Democrats do not want anything that they say we're going to violate the federal law by giving a sanctuary city, that they support.
Are we weakening the laws, Alexis, by allowing these people to come in, many of whom need shelter, food, help for their kids?
Well, one, I don't think that we are necessarily just allowing them to come in, right? I think there is a fact that there are people who are coming in here illegally. But at the same time, I think that these conversations on sanctuary city are really used to say that immigrants who are coming in are criminals and that we need to be policing and searching for them and really profiling them. I don't think that's right. I don't want to live in a place where people are constantly profiled and othered and treated like they are criminals without any evidence, right? What I do think makes sense that I think the senator is saying is, like, we do need to be going after the crimes. We do need to be going after fentanyl. We should not be light on the crimes, but it shouldn't matter whether it's a immigrant, whether they're here legally or illegally who's engaging in crime. Across the board, we need to be tough and take action against people, but I don't understand why that conversation has to be somehow aligned with immigration.
We're seeing a large increase in a spike in the number of fentanyl overdose cases all across the country, and here in Michigan, we also are noticing that the people who are coming across the border, many of them, again, a few bad apples that may be, but are bringing large volumes in. What is the solution from a Democratic point of view?
I think that the solution is to continue to enforce the laws that we have. I do think that the president has been very focused on immigration. I do think that he has taken significant action. I think keep doing that. I think do more. I definitely think we need to be doing more around securing the borders and making sure that we're tough on issues of criminality. But at the same time, I think the demonization and just calling out this specific group of people is a dangerous thing that we should not be doing.
Right. Now, look, Mr. Runestad, we've talked to people in Washington almost every week. I talked to a couple lawmakers while I was in Washington a few weeks ago, and they said, look, the president keeps saying, give me a bill I can sign. The bill that the Republicans are offering up in Washington right now are just laden with Trump-era kind of bans and issues and some really stringent things in there that some Democrats aren't comfortable signing. Shouldn't they meet in the middle somewhere to get something done?
Well, the whole thing was a complete canard. There was a few Republicans, usually your big open border guys, who are in league with the big corporations who want cheap labor. These corporations want slave labor, and they pay these Republicans to collude with the Democrats. What this bill did is said 1.5 million people could come that are illegally coming over now. We'll just legalize 1.5 million, and then after 5 years of being in the country, then they become citizens, and then they can vote. So the Democrats love that bill because and it's got some stuff on enforcement, all of which Biden can do today. He can enforce the border today. So it was just basically an amnesty bill for the Democrats, and you guys always from Republicans colluding for that big cash they get from the corporations.
Do you think that Republicans right now and Democrats are just politicking this whole thing until the 2024 election is over, Alexis?
I mean, I think there's always politics that go into all of these issues during an election year. But I think it's interesting that you bring up the people who are being mistreated and abused in these workplaces. There's been extensive coverage of people working in these terrible conditions, but that's Americans doing that to vulnerable immigrants, right? That's not an issue of them being criminals coming here. That is an example of people coming here and actually getting exploited by American companies. That's the kind of thing that we need to be going after. And I think talking like the people who are here or coming here are masses of criminals, I think is a really dangerous thing that we should not be doing.
When you think about Wayne County and you think about all these other areas in Michigan that have sanctuary counties and cities, does it concern you that the people of those areas aren't getting the services that they deserve, and yet the doors are being swung open for people who, as you say, came here illegally?
I personally don't. I mean, I think what I think about overall is how can we collectively all get better? How can we make sure that all our kids, I want to make sure that every kid is eating and has access to good education and meals. I don't care whether they're an immigrant or they're American. I want every child to have what I hope my child has. And I think that's the lens with which I bring to it. And I think that that's what should be, what I feel like is right.
Senator Runestad, do you see it that way?
Oh, right now we have exploding inflation because we're borrowing printing $2 trillion extra a year, basically borrowing and spending this money. So what's happening is people can't even afford to live in their home. I've talked to seniors, I've talked to people wanting to start their first home, but we're giving $500 a month, $6,500 a year to illegal immigrants to pay for their housing. This should be for Americans. We're paying the taxes for people to come illegal to the country and pay for their housing. We have people, I talked to a lady who said, I'm going to have to leave my home. I'm going to be homeless here in the state of Michigan.
Senator Runestad, will this bill actually see the light of the day?
Any bill that tries to enforce anything on the illegal immigration is dead on arrival with the Democrats. They want to amnesty the illegals to make a one-party nation,
Alexis,
and that's what
you
the
know a
goal
lot
is.
of Democrats. You think that's true? You think they're willing to look at stuff?
I think that they're willing to look at things that are real issues that most Michigan families are talking about.
Alexis Wiley, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Senator Runestad, thank you for that hearty discussion, and one that I think people got a lot out of. We appreciate both of you.